Why, hello everyone, and welcome back to RL Talk. Today, we are going to be talking about what happened in the Spring Split Regional 2 for MENA, APAC South, North America, and OCE. Don't know why I picked it in that order, because that's not the order we're going through it. Anyway, sorry that there wasn't any episodes for the preview of this event, or the review of Europe, Sub-Saharan Africa, APAC North, and South America. I didn't have any time because I'd been doing exams, so I couldn't do anything. But it's back now, so we could all celebrate. Anyway, so what has happened? What have we missed? Tell me. Well, I will. I will tell you. Starting off in APAC South. Honestly, a bit of what I expected. Meta Power and Asphyx's minions playing in the second round, in the quarterfinal of the upper bracket was really harsh from whoever decided to put them there, as well as having NSF play against Frost Esports. That was also a tough matchup, and that was harsh on NSF. But, that's the way that it goes. If you don't win, then you're not better. You need to win. Anyway. So then, what we saw was gaming. Why did I say gaming? Gaming gladiators, as you would expect, making it all the way through the upper side of the bracket, running through pretty much everyone. I mean, through Exodus. They went through Exodus, they went through Atlas Gaming, and then they went through Asia Manji in the upper bracket semi-finals, and then just about beat Meta Power in a Game 7 on Champions Field to book their spot on the grand final through the upper bracket. Meta Power met them after beating Leftovers, Asphyx's Minions, and Frost Esports through the other side of the upper bracket. Asphyx's Minions had to play in the lower bracket round 2, as well as NSF. NSF lost out to Frost in the first round, so they had to mount themselves some comebacks into the lower side of the bracket, and they did. They actually met in the lower bracket semi-finals. So they basically steamrolled through the entirety of the lower bracket, them two combined, and they met each other in the lower bracket semi-finals, where NSF clearly had a better time because they absolutely dominated 4-1. Whilst the games were relatively close for some of them, the last game was 9-2, and if you ask me, 9-2 does not look very close. Then NSF, coming off that 9-2 win in their last game, played against Meta Power, where they won the game 4 in a 4-0 sweep, may I add, 7-0. So 2 games where they've finished off the series as a win. To win the series, they've won by 7 goals, And then that put them into the grand final against Gaming Gladiators, where, as you would expect, Gaming Gladiators came out on top and made themselves a 7-time regional champion in APAC South. I mean, talk about domination. 7 times winning a regional. Maybe APAC South just need to improve. It's a relatively new region, so I expect it to improve as time goes on. But the progression is looking good, and hopefully, when they make it to LAN, we may see a team not come in the last bracket, not last bracket, but come in the last prize pool slot from something to 16th. Anyway, now, moving on to MENA, Middle East, and North America. Well, once again, we've seen another team dominate this region, and they continue to do so in Team Falcons. However, there was an upset, with Cola beating them in the upper bracket semi-final, and Veloce losing in the upper bracket quarter-final. The two finalists from last regionals was knocked out in surprise circumstances before the upper final. O1 Esports also getting beat, which is surprising. I really didn't expect them to do so. I just O1 has completely fallen off in this split. They were second in points before. It was close, but they were second. But another team that has fallen off horrifically compared to what they did in the last regional is Veloce. Veloce came 9th to 12th, losing in the lower bracket round 2 and the upper bracket round 2. Maybe it was a one-off regional. Could you imagine? It was one time. They only did good one time. But anyway, back to the upper bracket, where Cola ran through the upper bracket final to secure their spot in the grand final with Falcons not messing around. You know, when they got battered, I say battered very lightly, but it was a comprehensive win for Cola. Let's be fair, they did win quite well. It was a good win. They put Falcons into the lower bracket quarterfinals, where they came up against Miracle Makers. They came up against Miracle Makers, where they swept. It's typical. They beat 4-2, and Kings Esports, they swept to 4-0, meaning that put them in the grand finals too, but they required a bracket reset. Falcons were on the edge of losing their 7 streak of regionals. If they won this regional, it would make it 8, and they were on the edge of losing that. When they had to reset bracket, they had to win 8 games, when Cola only had to win 4. So you know what Falcons did? They double swept. They won 8 games in a row. That is just unheard of. They won 8 games in a row in a bracket reset after losing 4-2 in the upper semi-final to the same team. Not only did they win 8 games in a row, if you include the lower final and the lower bracket semi-final, they won 14 games in a row. 14 games of Rocket League. Do you know how long that is? That's 1 hour and 10 minutes. Not even counting overtimes. If you did count overtimes, it would be 1 hour and 10 and 43 seconds. But still, that's impressive. Over an hour of Rocket League. And you win them all. Every single game you win. That's really impressive. So that was them clearly showing that they are still top of this region, making it 8 wins in a row for Falcon Esports. I mean, do expect anything else. Ahmed, O'Khaled and TRK, they are possibly too good. Possibly too good for MENA. And I really, 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 really hope that they do good in the major that is coming up at the end of June, in about 40 days. I'm really looking forward to that, and I really hope that they can do well and secure themselves an automatic qualification spot into Worlds, because I'll be really looking forward to watching Worlds if Falcons are there automatically. But they will be there anyway, just not guaranteed to be in the finals. So, moving on to OCE now. Renegades, they ran through the top of the bracket until they met KCP in the upper final. Obviously going through Kaka's Minions and Synergy Gaming. Dire Wolves, they played Kaka's Minions, who they lost to. Power, they lost to Physicians. Bliss Esports, they lost to KCP. That's kind of expected, but I do expect better from Bliss considering some of their performances from last split. KCP and Renegades both beat Physicians and Kaka's Minions, respectively 4-2, when they met in the upper bracket final, where KCP again won 4-2. In the lower bracket, we saw Dire Wolves fall to 3-1-2s. So, once again, Dire Wolves not really putting out a great performance. Then Power had to go through the lower bracket from lower round 2, which they did so. They got a 3-0 sweep and then another, and then they dropped one game, the first game to Kakar's Minions. Physicians took them all the way to 7 games and a 3-minute overtime where Power just about came on top. Then Power had to play Renegades that dropped down from the upper bracket lower. Upper bracket lower. What am I talking about? Where they won 4-1, only losing one game in an overtime, and that was game 3. And then they met KCP in the final. And, well, what happened? KCP returned to form. KCP said, you know what happened before? We're not taking it. We're going to return to form. And they beat Power 4-1 in the grand finals. Power weren't even allowed to make a bracket reset. They were just done. They were done out. They lost. Gone. 4-1 in the first series. KCP returned to form. KCP returned to the top of the region. And that was a very impressive result from them. So, moving on now over to... So, what did happen? Well, what did happen? G2 barely scraped the win against Pittsburgh Knights. Torrent caused an upset, sweeping Nrg. Xset caused an upset, beating SSG 3-2. Envy, technically you could say they caused an upset because they did sweep Ghost, and Ghost was unstoppable in the last region, apart from against SSG. SSG stopping them both times. Complexity also beat Sonics, and Faze swept through their opponents with Accelerate. Then G2 ran into Rogue, which they won. That was an easy win for them. Torrent beat version 1. Again, maybe a bit of an upset there, you could say, but I expected that coming from Torrent after just sweeping Nrg prior, Envy then beat Xset, and Complexity beat Faze in game 5. Putting them in the upper bracket semi-finals. G2 swept through Torrent, which kind of set them on a downwards turn from their run, but we'll get into that later. Envy then beat Complexity 4-1. Complexity, have they made a return to form? Are they showing that they can keep up this top 5, top 6? Can they still make the major? Can they still make Worlds? All these questions unanswered. I'd really like to see more representation from South American teams, even if they do come through NA at Worlds. So that meant that G2 would play Envy in the upper bracket final, where G2 did a gentleman's sweep. Envy won the first game, but then they took 4 in a row. Aquadome, DFH, Utopic Coliseum, and Wasteland. Not giving up an inch. Only conceding 3 goals in the whole series, whilst scoring 10. Then moving down to the lower bracket, starting from round 1, because there are still a couple shocks here. Pittsburgh Knights beat Oxygen Gaming. Oxygen's really taken a fall from where they were in last split, but I guess that's how it works. Different formats suit different people, and we'll have to see if they can make the major, or if they're still in contention for making Worlds. Then Nrg beat Ormid. I'd expected that. SSG had to go 5 with Ghost Gaming, but then again, they did also pull off 2 massive results. A 5-0 at Aquadome and a 6-0 at Champions Field. So scoring 11-0 in those 2 games alone. Then in round 2, Faze swept through Pittsburgh Knights like I would have expected, scoring 17-4 in 3 games. Nrg swept Xset, but they were all 1-goal games apart from the last one. Very close games, could have gone either way. Version 1 beat SSG in 5. They beat him 3-2. Oh my word, SSG, we need to have words. Are they returning back to their form that we saw at the end of last split, where they fell off quite a bit and barely made the major, but then pulled off a top 3? We'll have to see. And then Susquehanna Sonics swept through Rogue, which I didn't expect, but we got anyway. Nrg beat Faze 3-1 in the lower bracket round 3, so Faze looking a little bit rusty. They're going to have to try and get a top 6 result in the next regional to try and secure that major spot, but I don't really have any doubt in them. I do think they'll be able to get it, but it's just a little bit risky at the moment. Version 1 swept through Sonics, which was honestly expected from me. Version 1, they've performed really well over this past 2 splits, and I look forward to possibly seeing them at the major, especially since they made the grand finals again. Spoiler maybe. I mean, you're watching this video, you know what's happened surely, and we're going to get to that point at some point anyway. So, Nrg'S win against Faze put them up against Torrent in the lower bracket quarterfinals, where again another gentleman sweep, Torrent taking the first game, but then Nrg taking the next 4 in a row. Version 1's win against Sonics got them against Complexity, where a reverse sweep was on until Neo Tokyo, where version 1 made it 4-2 in the series, and putting that one to bed for Complexity. Lower bracket semi-finals, version 1 versus Nrg, all 7 games, 2 overtimes, Champions Field, no doubt about it. Version 1 3-0, taking that series, putting themselves to the lower finals against Envy. Then they come up against Envy, and what do? Manfield Knight 2-0, Agrodome 4-2, Envy take a timeout, DFH Stadium 1-0, Utopia Coliseum 9-2. They absolutely dominated Utopia Coliseum. Absolutely dominated it, sending themselves to the grand final with momentum. 5 games in a row, and that showed when they went to Manfield Knight in the first game of the grand final. They took a 6th game in a row, 2-1. Then G2 pulled it back. Then version 1 took the lead again, and then 3 in a row from G2 said, "No, we're not doing this today. We don't want another bracket reset like we did against SSG. We're winning now." And that's what they did. 4-2. G2 taking another regional. That's 3 events they've won in a row. That's impressive. That's really impressive from them. Solid form. So, that is it for this episode. I hope you guys do enjoy. We will be bringing more episodes. We will make sure to bring episodes for next week and for the weeks following. But, yeah, look forward to those. What else am I going to say? I forget what I'm going to say. Oh yeah, look out on the social media pages. Go follow our Real Talk on the Twitters, on the Instagrams, to keep updated with the episodes. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace.